Namaste and good morning. We'll start the class with the prayers. Please join with me in chanting the prayers. Om Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Now 3 times Mahamrutyunjay mantra. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukam Iva Bandhana Mrutyurmukshiyamamrutat. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukam Iva Bandhana Mrutyurmukshiyamamrutat. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukam Iva Bandhanan Mrutyurmukshiyamamrutat. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Welcome everyone. We'll start with the chanting of the forms of Rama. I'll say one line at a time and you repeat after me. Ramaha, Ramau, Ramaha. Ramam, Ramau, Raman. Ramena, Ramabhyam, Ramaihi. Ramaya, Ramabhyam, Ramebhyah. Ramat, Ramabhyam, Ramebhyah. Ramasya, Ramayoho, Ramanam. Rame, Ramayoho, Rameshu. He Rama, He Ramau, He Rama. Now all together. Ramah, Ramau, Ramaha. Ramam, Ramau, Raman. Ramena, Ramabhyam, Ramaihi. Ramaya, Ramabhyam, Ramebhyah. Ramat, Ramabhyam, Ramebhyah. Ramasya, Ramayoho, Ramanam. Rame, Ramayoho, Rameshu. He Rama, He Ramau, He Ramaha. Now we will do the same with Dhatu Rupa, the verb gam. I'll say one line at a time and you repeat after me. गच्छति, गच्छतः, गच्छन्ति, गच्छसि, गच्छथः, गच्छथ, गच्छामि, गच्छावः, गच्छामः. Now all together. गच्छति, गच्छतः, गच्छन्ति, गच्छसि, गच्छथः, गच्छथ, गच्छामि, गच्छावः, गच्छामः. So going back to our previous class, we did the dhatu rupa, the verb forms, and we did the verb forms for atmanepadi. So we saw parasmaipadi endings, and these are the names of different types of verb endings. Parasmaipadi, atmanepadi, these are the two different kind of endings. Some verbs take parasmaipadi endings, some verbs take atmanepadi endings, and some verbs take both the endings, and they are called ubhayapadi. Ubhay means both. The verb takes both the endings. We saw these types of endings. Where ti, taha, anti, si, thaha, tha, mi, vaha, maha. And for atmanepadi, the endings are te, ite, ante, se, ithe, dve, I, vahe, mahe. And we saw that how to apply those endings to get the actual verb forms, the ones which are used in the sentences. And I'll just quickly pull up some of those endings. So we did bhaj dhatu, and bhaj dhatu happens to be ubhayapadi. That means it takes both sets of terminations, and these are the parasmaipadi forms, and these are the atmanepadi forms. The meaning is the same. So there was once upon a time in the old Vedic time when there was slight difference in the meaning based upon whether you use the atmanepadi form or parasmaipadi form. But later on, which we call classical Sanskrit, and in which most of the scriptures are written except Vedas, the meaning remains the same. So for example, bhajami, that is the first person singular form in parasmaipadi, and bhaje is the first person singular form in atmanepadi. Whether I say bhajami or bhaje, the meaning remains the same, that I worship. So they can be used based upon author's discretion, whatever he wants to use. So these days, when you read the text, there is no difference per se in the meaning between atmanepadi and parasmaipadi. But we still have two sets of endings because that's how it has been used. So in terms of endings, we still retain those. The meaning, subtle differentiation in the meaning, that part is no longer there. Today, we will go back to our sandhi. So we did, there are three categories of sandhi, as I told you earlier: swara sandhi, visarga sandhi, and vyanjana sandhi. Vyanjana sandhi is consonant, swara sandhi is vowel, and visarga sandhi is when there is a visarga involved. We already did Swara Sandhi in detail. Today we'll do Visarga Sandhi. And Visarga Sandhi happens when there is Visarga at the end of the first word. Visarga can never be at the start of the word. So you will not have an instance where second word would have Visarga in the starting. That is not possible. So Visarga can only occur at the end of the word, at the end of the first word in case of Sandhi. Sometimes it can come in the middle of the word, but rare. Generally, it appears at the end of the word. So in this case, and then next letter, that is the first letter of the second word, that could be either a consonant or vowel. It will be called Visarga Sandhi. So those would be all the cases of Visarga Sandhi where Visarga is in the first place and next letter could be vowel or consonant. Now you would think that it would be easier now because in vowel we had to consider both combinations. First is this, second is this. Here first is always constant, Visarga, and second is variable. So I only need to know the rules of what are related to the second letter. That is true only partially, and the reason is this. Visarga can only occur at the in the case of Sandhi, it will only occur at the end of the word. That is true, but we do take into consideration. So, for example, if I have a word Ramaha, so Visarga is at the end of the word. But it also not only it will be at the end of the word, but it will always follow a vowel. Visarga will never follow a consonant. So that is another property of Visarga. Visarga, in this case, it is Akara. Visarga is following Akara. So Visarga will always follow a vowel, never a consonant. So in Visarga Sandhi, we do take into consideration the vowel before Visarga. So there are some cases where it's not just Visarga follows what matter, so it can follow anything. It can follow either a vowel or a consonant. But we would also consider the cases that what is the vowel preceding Visarga that would also affect the end result. Okay, so we will see those cases. So these are the Visarga Sandhi rules. So we'll go one by one. It says the final Visarga remains unchanged before these letters. So before you do the Sandhi rules, as I told you, you need to be extremely familiar with the alphabet. If you are not familiar with the alphabet properly, then it will always be a problem in applying the Sandhi rules. And what I mean by saying the alphabet, you need to be comfortable. You must know that not only there are vowels and consonants, that how are they arranged. And hopefully you all have this chart because this is already posted. So vowels are simple, right? There is a short and long, and you need to know what are the short and long and what are only long vowels. But consonants, we have a lot more structure here. And the structure relates to, there's a 5x5 table. So there's a place of pronunciation. Guttural means throat. That means these are pronounced from the throat, these 5 letters. Palatal is the palate, lower palate. Cerebral is the upper palate. Dental is the teeth, and labial is the lips. So this is the place of pronunciation of these letters. Then we have this category where we say whether it is voiced or unvoiced, whether it is aspirated or unaspirated. So like this. So for all these, you need to know the structure, that where every consonant is falling, which one is first, which one is second in this group, which one is third. So we become very familiar with the alphabet. Lot of these rules would be applied when we use Sandhi. And alphabet, as you can understand, learning any language, alphabet would be the first step. So please make sure that you are very well familiar. So when I say voiced consonants, you immediately understand, oh, what does voiced consonants mean? So like that. So please become very familiar with the alphabet. It's there in the repository. So here it says if final visarga remains unchanged before these letters, kakara, khakara, pakara, fakara, shakara, shakara, sakara. I have done what I have done today just for the sake of simplicity. I have created this alphabet here with a little bit color coding for you to help with the visarga sandhi. So in visarga sandhi, what matters is that what are the voiced consonants and what are the unvoiced consonants. So the difference between that the vocal cords vibrate when you pronounce the voiced consonants. They don't vibrate as much or very little when you pronounce the unvoiced consonants. So that's the reason of division of these. The ones in yellow, they are voiced consonants, and the ones in light blue, they are unvoiced consonants. So yellow is voiced, blue is unvoiced, minus voice. You see minus voice here. And these are sibilants, they are also unvoiced consonants. On the other hand, semi-vowels and hakara, they are voiced consonants. So just I have put together here so that you can clearly see at a glance, but you should know all the structure of alphabet. First rule now you look at. A final visarga remains unchanged before these letters. That means when the second word is starting with any of these letters. So this rule actually simply is saying that there is no sandhi takes place. And that is also important to know when sandhi does not take place in case of visarga. So all other cases there would be a change and sandhi would be taking place. But in this particular case, there is no sandhi, visarga remains unchanged, and the following letter also remains unchanged. So you should understand that what are those cases when visarga sandhi does not apply. So these are the letters. So just become, again, I'll show you, they are all part of the unvoiced consonants. Ka, kha, pa, fa, sha, sha, sa. So they are all part of the unvoiced consonants. So these three shas, and then first two of guttural and first two of labial. So these are the 7 consonants. If they are the first letter of the second word, there would be no sandhi taking place. That means visarga would remain unchanged. And we can see some examples from Gita where you will see that there would be, so for example here, if you look at Kshatriyaha Partha, this is Gita verse actually, 232 number you can. So just look at this letter, Kshatriyaha Partha. There is a visarga here, and the second letter starts with pa, pakara. Therefore, no change takes place. Visarga remains as it is. Similarly, when you see this letter, Kshatriya, it also start because it's a conjunct consonant starting with kakara, so it's considered starting with kakara, and again because of that the visarga does not undergo any change. Sukhinah kshatriyaha. So this rule looks like that very simple, simply because there is no sandhi taking place here. But we need to know that what are those cases when sandhi does not take place. So the second rule, a final visarga changes to a sibilant homoorganic with the following unvoiced consonants. So now the remaining 6. So we saw here that among unvoiced consonants, if this guttural and labial, these two and these 3 sibilants, if they come, the visarga does not undergo any change. But if the remaining 6, that means these 3, palatal, cerebral, dental, first 2 of these 3, they become the first letter of the second word. Then corresponding, it says, the rule says, changes to a sibilant homoorganic. Homoorganic means it changes to the same sibilant, corresponding sibilant, which is coming from the same place. So remember, there is a place of pronunciation for sibilant also. So shakara is pronounced from palate, shakara is pronounced from cerebral, that's why I have put in the same line, and sakara is pronounced from the dental teeth. So these are called the corresponding sibilants. So what does that mean is that if there is a visarga, so let's say if I have a word here, which says Ramaha cha. So Ramaha cha would become Ramascha. So we'll see how does that work. So Ramaha plus cha would become Ramascha. So that's how it would become Ramaha cha. So this visarga followed by chakara would change to, so here the visarga changes, everything else remains the same. So this H dot, which is the sign of visarga, would becomes shakara, this symbol. So similarly, if it is takara or thakara, it will change to sakara. And we'll see some examples from Gita. So that's what this rule says. A final visarga changes to a sibilant homoorganic with the following unvoiced consonants. And when you see these numbers, which I have put in the bracket here, this says the number refers to the verse numbers in Bhagavad Gita indicating corresponding examples. So you can actually look in Bhagavad Gita and see these examples with the actual verses, how it is being applied. So that's why these numbers will help you. And we'll put this thing chart as part of our presentation. So I'll update the presentation file in our repository, and you should be able to see the new chart. So we'll see some examples of Bhagavad Gita. And you see the same way I told you, this 1.5, Kashi Rajascha, this is the word appearing, Kashi Rajascha. So here is shakara, it will actually, that means this is two words, Kashi Rajaha cha, and this visarga follows by chakara becomes shakara. In this example, it says Duryodhanastada, and Duryodhanastada means Duryodhanaha plus tada. It is takara, which is dental, so corresponding dentals sa will come here. So that is the rule here. Then the third rule here is, which is rather very simple rule, a visarga when preceded by a, that is long a, akara, and followed by a voiced consonant or vowel is dropped. So that's a simple rule. What it is saying is that, so there I have marked two vowels differently because, as I said, visarga rule changes based upon what precedes visarga, and they only apply to akara, akara, or all other vowels. So you don't have to worry about many categories, just three. So akara, akara, and all other vowels. So what it is saying that if akara, this one, long a, is there before visarga, and the first letter is any of the voiced consonants, that means any of the thing in yellow highlight or any of the vowels, then the visarga drops. For all other, we have already seen the rule that will apply. That means visarga remains unchanged before unvoiced consonant. Ka, kha, pa, fa, sha, sha, sa, and before these consonants, it changes into the corresponding sibilant. Now it is the rule that if there is a voiced consonant afterwards and akara is the previous letter before visarga, then the visarga simply drops. That's the only change. The following letter, so if you look at here, we have this example. Antavanta ime dehaha nityasyoktaha. So actual word here is deha, dehaha, nityasyoktaha, deha. So here it becomes deha nityasyoktaha. The visarga simply goes away because nakara, as you see, it is a voiced consonant. You see this is a voiced consonant here, nakara. So nakara is a voiced consonant, and as per that rule, followed by a voiced consonant or a vowel, it will drop. So the visarga simply goes away. Then we see the next rule. So we see, now when visarga is preceded by akara and followed, so there are three sub rules when it is followed by akara. So one is when it's preceded by akara and followed by, so visarga is preceded by akara, the preceding vowel is akara, and followed by akara also. Then aha, which is the last syllable of the previous word, you see the visarga here followed by akara, that will change to o, and akara is elided, the avagra, it will become avagra. So let's see here this example from Gita. Naraha aparani. Here visarga preceded by akara, short a, and also followed by short akara. So what would happen? This whole syllable akara followed by visarga will change to okara, and this akara, the following akara, would change to this apostrophe is called avagra, and as it is not pronounced, you would be pronouncing this word as naroparani. Naraha plus aparani, naroparani. So this is the case when we have the visarga preceded by akara and followed also by akara. Now the second case, when it is preceded by akara and followed by any vowel except akara, then the visarga is dropped. So preceded by akara and followed by any vowel other than, so any of the vowels, then the visarga would drop. So like here, yaha enam veda vinashinam nityam ya enam ajam avyayam. Here the sandhi is yaha enam. So visarga is preceded by akara and followed by a vowel other than akara, ekara. So in this case, the simple sandhi would mean visarga would drop, and the two words will be written separately. There would be no further sandhi. Like if you remember, if we were to remember the rules of the vowel sandhi, we would say akara followed by ekara would becomes aikara, but that will not take place here. So this will be a indication for you to see that there is already maybe a visarga sandhi, because the vowel sandhi is not happening. So maybe already a visarga sandhi has taken place. So that would be an indication here. So ya plus enam, yaha plus enam, these are the actual words. Then visarga preceded by akara and followed by a voiced consonant. Then the sequence akara and visarga, they are changed to O, and the following letter would remain unchanged. So we'll see the example of that. So like here, na chainam kile dayantyapo na shoshayati marutah. Here the word is apaha na. These are the actual words. It has become apo na. So this visarga preceded by akara followed by a voiced consonant, this thing changes into O, and nakara remains unchanged. So, and they are written separately. Apo na, they are not written as one word, they are written as two words. Apo na, there would be a space between them. So these are the three sub cases when the visarga is preceded by akara. Then the fifth rule, visarga changes to refa. This we call it as refa if it is preceded by any vowel except akara or akara and followed by a vowel or a voiced consonant. So here again, it is preceded by any of these vowels, because we already saw the case for akara and akara. So now the case is, what if visarga is followed by any of the other vowels and preceded by any of these vowels and followed by any of the vowels or any of the voiced consonant? Then the visarga changes into refa. So let's see examples again from Gita. So this example is a nice example actually. So the word is here is sthir buddhir asammudho brahmavid brahmane sthitah. So this is actually three different words: sthira buddhi plus asammudha plus brahmavid. So sthira buddhi, you see e. So before visarga there is a ikara, that is that is a vowel other than akara or akara, and it follows a vowel, any vowel or voiced consonant. If it follows, then this becomes refa. So you see here, only the visarga becomes refa. Ikara remains the same. So ikara remains the same. Visarga remains refa, and akara remains also akara. And because the way this becomes a conjoint character, it becomes one word. It is written as one word. Sthir buddhir asamudho. And why it becomes asamudho? This we already saw. Here the visarga is preceded by akara and followed by a voiced consonant. So it becomes O. The whole thing becomes O. As per the rule 4.3. A voiced consonant, the sequence aha changed to okara. So these are the rules. Then the sixth rule is there are two special words, saha and eshaha. Saha means he, He in English, he, and esha means this. These are the two pronouns, saha and eshaha. They drop visargas before all the letters. So no matter all the rules we studied earlier, they would be the exception to those rules. So they will drop the visarga before all the letters except akara, short a only. So only when it is short a, they will retain the visarga. Otherwise, they will drop the visarga. So for example, here, sa purushaha. Here in Gita, this verse 221. Katham sa purushaha partha. So here actually the word is saha purushaha. Saha means he, but also means that. So that man, when it is used as an adjective, then it becomes more like that. So saha purushaha, that man, it becomes sa purushaha. So this is a special word, saha, followed by any letter other than akara, the visarga will drop. So this is an exception to the. Similarly, if it were eshaha purushaha, the same thing would have happened. So normally the rule is that before pakara, the visarga remains unchanged. That was the general rule. If you remember, the first rule was a final visarga remains unchanged before pakara. But this is the exception where it says it will drop visarga before all the letters. So these are the rules for visarga sandhi. I hope you followed it. I will just invite any questions you have on this particular topic on related to visarga sandhi. So please write your questions into the chat window. So there is a question, what is the difference between voiced and unvoiced? So this is the category of consonants. I told you the difference is that vocal cords vibrate in case when you pronounce a voiced consonant, and they don't vibrate or vibrate very little when you pronounce an unvoiced consonant. And we have very well categorized that which consonants are voiced and which are unvoiced. Question is what is plus ASP? So in the alphabet, I had plus ASP for some of the. So plus ASP, that is aspiration, whether the air goes out of the mouth when you pronounce this word like kha, and whether you don't exhale when pronounced. ASP stands for aspiration. So whether the letter is aspirated or unaspirated. So plus ASP means aspirated and minus ASP means non-aspirated. So these are all the alphabet. I have also given you some links for the alphabet that will help you to master the sounds of those alphabet. But please do get yourself very, very familiar with the alphabet. There is a suggestion, please slow down. We see this rule the first time. Yes, I would give you enough opportunity to practice and you should be able to pick up. Plus, this chart would be available for you. Question is there, when do words keep the space after sandhi? So I told you the cases where the words keep the space after sandhi and where the words do not keep the space after sandhi. So in case of Visarga Sandhi, for example, if you remember, if you see here, when Visarga remains unchanged, of course there will remain space, like Kshatriyaha Partha, there would be no together, because actually what is happening here, we are saying that this is a exception to the rule of Visarga Sandhi. No change is taking place. The words remain as they are. In other cases, where the Visarga is changing to Shakara, Kashi Rajascha, then it will become one word. Duryodhanastada, it will become one word. When the Visarga is simply dropped, then the words do not combine, they remain a separate word. Here then, aha becomes O, and the second vowel is also changing. So normally you will see when the second letter is also undergoing a change, then it becomes one word. If the second letter is not undergoing a change, and also like how do you write? So in this case, even though the second letter is not undergoing change, just because it becomes a letter sa, it is written as one word. So this is more like how the Sanskrit is written actually, rather than a rule. So this is how the Sanskrit is written, that it becomes Duryodhanastada, and it is written as one word. So yaha enam, here simply the Visarga drops, so there will be two words. Saha also, the Visarga simply drops off, no other change, so it will remain separate words. Here apo naha, so again they will remain two separate words. So think, if you have to remember this thing, then think of this way. If the Visarga simply drops off, then it will remain two words. If the Visarga becomes O or any vowel, then it will remain two words. When the Visarga changes into a consonant, like in this case Refa, or in the earlier case it is Shakara, then it becomes one word. That's more related to how Sanskrit is written. Okay, let me see the questions, more questions. Question: there is a table in Thomas Eugene book about this Sandhi. Is it also practical to use? Yes. So Thomas Eugene book actually, let me pull up the book. It actually gives you the chart for all the Sandhis. So let me find the page for you. I'm just looking at my physical book because it's easier to find the page number there. So this is the chart here. Vowel, unvoiced consonant, and voiced consonant. The chart is okay for reference, but it may not be very good to learn from. So you still learn as per the rules I showed you, and then you can refer to this chart. And he also, of course, provides the rule here. So there is a chart, and you can, similarly, there is a chart for vowel sandhi. So, and also consonant sandhi. So you can definitely refer to these charts, and they are also in the appendix towards the back of the book, where he has provided these charts. So yes, please do refer to these charts, but get familiar with the rules in a more logical manner, the way I explained to you. because if you want to apply, then you will not be able to learn. Just like dictionary is more for reference, not for necessarily memorizing to increase your vocabulary. Same way the charts are more for reference rather than to understand or memorize the Sandhi rules. Question: when does apostrophe takes place? So apostrophe takes place, apostrophe is avagraha, and since we are learning a language, right? So do not get afraid of the Sanskrit terms, because ultimately your purpose is to learn the language. You would be learning hundreds and thousands of words of Sanskrit. So do not get afraid of using the Sanskrit terms actually, like avagraha for apostrophe. So try to get more used to that way. It will become, I know in the starting it can be a little bit intimidating when you use so many foreign sounding words, but because we are trying to learn the language itself here, there would be many words. So avagraha sign comes when the visarga is preceded by akara and also followed by akara. Then the visarga comes. So for example, Naroparani. So here the visarga is preceded by akara and also followed by akara. So it becomes, this becomes O, this sequence becomes O, and this sequence becomes avagraha, Naroparani. There is a suggestion, you seem to be going way too fast today. I'm not sure about that because I have taken all the examples and I'll post the chart. Again, I can explain to you by way of examples and the rules, and it's for you to practice, and we would be posting all the material on the repository. Question: so we use rule 4.3 to make Om Namaha Bhagavate to Om Namo Bhagavate. Very good. That is what we do. So we have the word Om Namaha Bhagavate 4.3, where it says preceded by akara and followed by a voiced consonant. So when we chant the mantra Om Namo Bhagavate, actually the mantra is Om Namaha Bhagavate, and Namaha becomes Namo because of this rule. That's correct. There is a question, how long will you make the materials available after this course ends? We would have the material available, but you can download once the course ends. It will still be available for some time, and you can download all the material to your hard drive. So there is a question, can you please give examples from simple words, because Gita words are more long and advanced since this is beginner's class. The thing about Sandhi is that it does not matter how long the word is, and that's one reason I was giving you Gita examples. It only matters what the pattern is. So for example, here if you look at this word Naraha Aparani, all I am concerned about this pattern. Whether there is another 10 letters here or another 10 letters here, it doesn't matter. Only being concerned about that visarga preceded by akara and followed by akara. So this thing you have to keep in mind, otherwise the long words can intimidate you. But Sandhi actually does not depend upon what all precedes or follows. It only depends upon the pattern of joining at the time of joining. What page is the chart in Eugene's book? That is 111. Page number 111. Another comment, you are in a good pace, Swamiji. So I understand some people might find it fine. Some people might find it fast. The thing is that even if you are finding it fast, you would have enough opportunity to practice through examples and learn the concept. And as I said, all the material would be available. Then another comment, Swamiji, I think your speed is perfect. Thank you. Then another comment, you are not going fast. It seems that way because the subject you are covering is a bit more complicated. There is a question, can you please explain how Om becomes Om and is written as Om? That's how the Om is written. It's not because of Sandhi. Om is written that way only. There is a special symbol for Om. Swamiji, what about Shivoham? Which rules apply? You should be able to see Shivoham, Shivaha, Aham. We'll see more examples, but you should be able to see that it is this rule. Naraha Aparani, the preceded by Akara and followed by Akara. It becomes Shivoham. So for example, here, if I have to say, and it will be the same sequence here. Shivaha Aham. So it becomes Shivoham. Same, this rule applies actually. Shivoham. It becomes Shivoham. There is a question. Issue with the speed is that we cannot copy the rule before you are on another screen. Okay, that you do not worry about. As I said, all the material would be on the website, and just focus on understanding right now. So I'll put this slide in the presentation, so you'll have the original rules. Do not worry if you are not able to copy it along with the class. My purpose is that you focus on the class, not necessarily copying what you are seeing on the screen. There is a question. Later, please let us know when to donate for the class. How should we do it? Refer on the check. That would be fine. You can just mention on the check for Sanskrit class. That would be fine. The email was already sent out regarding donation information. So in the original email, you should have the link for donation. There is a comment. Not everyone who finds the homework too much is voicing the concern, and people are becoming discouraged in these times. People are finding things overwhelming. I agree with this comment that people who are not able to somehow get to the homework completely, they are finding the class too fast, because it actually builds up the concepts. And if because the previous concepts are not completely clear, it can overwhelm. There is a question. How many separate words can be combined together to make one word? If the words continue to have appropriate Sandhi rules, can we have more than 4 or 5 words joined together? Yes, it is possible. There is no particular rule that how many separate words can be combined together. As many Sandhi rules come into play, as many they will keep on applying. There is a question. So, Baba, these 6 rules will make me a week to absorb, but that is the way it is. Yes, it will not take that long for you to absorb. I am pretty sure that once you read and do the exercise, it will be pretty quick. Question, Gita 221, please clarify why ya enam does not undergo further sandhi vowel. That is the rule actually. So the question here is, yaha enam, as per the Visarga rule, the Visarga drops because it is preceded by Akara and followed by another vowel other than Akara. So the Visarga simply drops, ya enam. And then I already told you that it should have, if it were another vowel sandhi rule applying, then it should have become yainam, akara plus ekara, aikara. But we have no further sandhi here. And that is as per the rule that Panini says that once you apply this sandhi, then you will not apply this sandhi rule further. That's why. So that's how the rule is. There is a question for the mantra Om Namaha Bhagavate Vasudevaya. but you have not written the question. Bhushan Baba, you please write the question. Which is the correct pronunciation of the mantra? Is it Om Namo Bhagavate or Om Namah Bhagavate? Okay, so the pronunciation would be Om Namo Bhagavate. When we pronounce, we will make the sandhi. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So please limit your questions to the specific topic. If you ask all sort of questions, we will get derailed. So please confine your questions right now. Later on, we'll have opportunities for other questions. But for now, please limit your questions to the topic at hand. There is a comment, exercises are really helping us apply. Thank you. How to pronounce this Memrutam? Just how we will pronounce Shivoham Memrutam. There is a comment. I like how you repeat the rules many times for reinforcement. Thank you. There is a question, do we have to memorize all these rules, or is it fine to have a general idea in order to help understand the meaning of the words in the text? Remember, you don't memorize the rules. You just practice, you look at the pattern, then understand which rule is being applied, and automatically the rules will come to you. You don't even have to consciously recall the rule. Just like in English grammar, when you start in the beginning, you have to be conscious about the rule and then see the application of rule. With practice, actually, you kind of forget the rule per se, but you remember the application and you are able to understand the words. So that's the same here. I'm preparing all these rules because I have to teach this class. Otherwise, I don't consciously remember all these rules. But looking at the words in Gita, I immediately know that that's how the split would be. So for me, it's not that consciously I have to apply that this rule and that's how the split would be. Even if I don't remember the rule consciously, it just occurs to me that that's how it should be split. That's how the word is. So that's how it will happen. You don't have to memorize the rules, but it will come into your practical application. More and more you get exposed to the text. There is a question. So in this case, it's Visarga Sandhi and Purva Rupa Sandhi in case of Shivoha. In Visarga, it is just called Visarga Sandhi. We don't have Visarga Purva Rupa Sandhi. I'm just looking at other questions. There is a question, Swamiji, please, why did you in the example write Shiva with a H, Shivaha? That's how the word is, like Ramaha, Shivaha. That's how the Sanskrit word is, Shivaha, like Ramaha. So the mantra Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, it is Namo. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. There is a question, why is there no Sandhi? 221. Sapurushaha Partha. I already explained that when it is following Pakara, there will be no Sandhi. Kshatriyaha Partha. Because the letter it is following Pakara, there would be no Sandhi. Namostu, is it also Visarga Sandhi? Yes, it is also Visarga Sandhi. Namaha Astu Namostu. So can you please, the question is, can you please give us more exercise on this Sandhi, as this itself has so many rules? Yes. So we'll have now the time for class exercise. And the way I have put together, because I understand you don't remember all the rules right now and you don't have a copy probably with you. So I have put the Visarga Sandhi rules here. and this is the exercise. So you will be doing the split words. There are only 7. First one I have solved for you. So you will be doing 6. You will combine the word and put the type of sandhi. So just put the number so that you know that which rule are you applying here. Okay. So with this, we will take this break. Right now it is 10 o'clock sharp. I hope, because it's only 6 words, you should be able to do it in about 10 minutes. So we will meet at 10:10. And please, this is the exercise number 23 class. So please send your results on the email. And if there are any questions, we will deal with those questions. And today I'll also intend to take some questions from the ones which are in the email. So we will gather again at 10:10. Just these, you do these 6 words. Okay. I'll mute myself in the meantime. Welcome everyone. So we will solve these examples right now. I hope some of you at least got to do them correctly. And even if you did not do correctly, as long as you attempted, that's good. You see that when we do this example, does not sound, it's just that the rules are these. I cannot make easier them. I mean, you have to understand and then see the application of them. That's all. It says that the final visarga remains unchanged before this letter, shakara. And here you see, this is the letter, shakara. So final visarga remains unchanged. That means there would be no sandhi. So this will remain as it is. There will be no difference actually here. So the words will remain kirtihi shri, like this, kirtihi shri. And this is the rule number 1. Second rule, you see it is takara. So look at the previous vowel and the following character. That's all you have to look. Even though the words could be too long, it doesn't matter. All you have to see what is the previous letter and what is the next letter other than visarga. So here the next letter is ta, takara. And you see here, final visarga changes to sibilant homorganic with the following unvoiced consonants. So takara, it changes to sakara. Simple. Here we are seeing this rule, takara changes to sakara. It's an unvoiced consonant, takara. So because you are not probably familiar with the alphabet, I mean, which I was hoping that you would be, considering that we have done the alphabet long time ago. So this becomes garbhas tatha sakara. That's all. So this is rule number 2. Mani gana evaha. So now look at here. The previous vowel is akara and following is ikara. And here is the rule is third one. A visarga when preceded by akara and followed by a voiced consonant or vowel. So this is vowel. Ikara is a vowel. It is dropped. So visarga is dropped. That's all. So mani gana eva. Here the visarga is dropped. Mani gana eva. It would become like this. And here the rule would be 3. Yaha antaha. So look at here. Visarga preceded by akara and followed by also akara. And now look at here. When a visarga is preceded by akara, so it will be rule number 4. And also followed by akara. So we will apply the 4-1. This combination is changed to okara. So this will change to okara here. So yo, and then succeeding akara will be avagraha. So it will become avagraha, and then yontaha. So it will become like this. So 4-1. Now look at this word. Saha aham. Visarga preceded by akara, also followed by akara. Actually, it is the same rule. Preceded by akara, followed by akara. So this will become O. So S-O. And the next akara would become avagraha. Sorry, not here. Avagraha. Soham. So this is the word soham. That's how it is coming. You might have heard this word a lot. Soham. It is actually saha aham. Saha means he. Aham means I am he. Soham means I am he. So that's how the word is coming. Soham. So now you can see some interesting words which you might have heard, how they are coming. Now look at this word. Visarga preceded by ikara and followed by B, bakara. Bakara is a voiced consonant. So you have to know whether it's a voiced consonant or not. So bakara is a voiced consonant. So it is preceded by ikara. So here, this rule, a visarga, if it is preceded by any vowel except akara or akara, that is correct. It is preceded by ikara and followed by a vowel or a voiced consonant. It is followed by a voiced consonant. Then it is changed to refa. So here we got the rule number 5 here, and what it is saying is that visarga will change to refa and it will become one word, because that's how the Sanskrit is actually written. So 5. So that's all. So it is not that difficult actually. Once you understand the rules, it should be pretty simple actually to apply. Okay, I'm just seeing some questions. So for example 6, why does rule 6 not apply? Okay, so example 6 is saha aham. Look at the rule here. It says drop visarga before all the letters except akara. Here it is akara. So that's why it does not apply. Then this rule will apply. It is preceded by akara and followed by akara. Good question. So saha, it drops visarga before all the letters except short akara. That's why the 6 does not apply if 4-1 applies. If it were any other letter, then yes, 6 would have applied. The question: in alphabets, letters in the rule 2-3 appear before letters in 2-2. Any reason they do not appear in the same order in the rules? No particular order or reason actually. We can change it if so. What he is saying that these letters ta, takara and thakara, they appear in alphabet earlier than these letters. So I think that would be ideal. The reason why I did not put, because these are more common and this is much less common, third one, but we can change the order so that it will be in alphabetical order. There is no reason particularly that the only reason I put it in the end was because there are very few examples in the third case of the second rule. Does rule 2.2 always become one word? Yes. So whenever rule 2 applies, it becomes one word. And any of the categories. Whenever rule 2 applies, it will become one word. There is a comment. Thanks, Swamiji. Now I'm able to understand a bit. I'm sure that you would be able to understand once you start seeing the rules and apply them. You would be able to understand. Rule number 3 does not state we do not join. How do we know not to join? It says the visarga is dropped. That's all. Visarga is dropped and the words do not join. So I can write separately. So if you look at rule number 1, no change. So words will remain separate. Rule number 2, it will become one word. Rule number 3, visarga drops. It will remain two words. Rule number 4, only the one when the succeeding letter is also elided becomes one word, otherwise it will remain two separate words. Rule number 5 will become one word. So I'll write it when it becomes one word, when it becomes two words in the rules. If that's what will, maybe that's what will help you, some of you. Soham is one or two words, only one word. Soham is one word. Words preceded and before can cause confusion. Any other ways of expressing? Preceded and before is the same thing. I mean, how else do you want to express it? So something is precedes and something follows. Something is before and something is after. So whichever way it helps you to understand, you understand. The terminology is less important. The words, the understanding is more important. In English, simply precede, when we say something precedes, it means it's before. Something follows, it means it's after. Okay, so there is a question, why Soham rule number 4.1, not rule number 6? I already explained. Soham, why it is rule number 4 and not rule number 6? Because rule number 6 says except the letter akara, and here it is akara. That's why the rule number 6 will not apply. Okay, so I hope with these examples and with these rules you should be able to follow. And of course there is a whole weekend. You can actually be, I'll also have a home exercise. So let me just quickly tell you what are the home exercises. So one is, this is the one exercise. So this is basically all the words. There are 40, and you can, just like what we did in the class, you join the word and write the Visarga Sandhi rule. Okay, so this will further help you to understand the rules. All these words are from Gita. So if you are familiar with Gita, you should start able to recognize those words. In order to apply the rules, you don't have to know Gita. You just have to see the previous letter and the following letter, and you can apply the rules. Okay, so this exercise will be posted on the repository. And then there is another exercise, which is simply lesson 9 from Thomas Egan's book. You do the exercise. Please study the lesson and do the exercise from lesson 9. Yes, we'll give the answers later of the solutions. We'll put the solutions also of the exercise later on. Now I want to actually take some of the class questions. We don't have a lot of time, but 5-7 minutes, whatever we have. We had a lot of questions in this class. So we did till 32. Last time. So there is a suggestion here. I'm copying the verb conjugation chart for gum, and I'm trying to, so I'm reading the question number 33, and I'm trying to figure out how the vowels are connected to consonants, and remember this website and that I have used in the past. Here is the link for your reference in case you find it useful. I found it very useful myself. So if somebody finds it useful, they can use it. I somehow could not, I am fine with whatever you find it useful. This is a website for typing in Devanagari, something like Sanskrit. So, but Sanskrit allows both Roman script and Devanagari. So that's why I like that tool, Sanskrit, which I have already shared with you. I'm copying second chapter shlokas, how to differentiate between ta, this is a conjunct consonant, and tatta, letters. I know how to write Hindi letters. That's all I know. I can read, but don't understand. Sanskrit too looks more little different than Hindi letters. How can I learn Sandhi letters? So basically the question is related to conjunct consonants. When two consonants come together in Devanagari, the shape changes. I have already posted the link how to practice conjunct consonant. You can look at that link and practice those conjunct consonants. Pronunciation for the verb conjugations. Some of the differences in pronunciation are really similar, but there are subtle differences. I'm afraid by just working on the written form, I'm not picking it up properly, even though I try to pronounce it. It's hard to know if I'm making a mistake and building a wrong habit. For example, the dual third person, dual second person, and plural second person are all very similar, though I know there are differences in the emphasis. Would it be possible to give us an audio recording? So now we are actually, one of the reasons why we are every day chanting those tables. I hope this question would be resolved. By now you should have picked up those subtle differences in the pronunciation of the words in the tables. So this is related to the verb table, that how to pronounce the different words properly. There is a question, Gachami, is this the same word used in Buddhist prayer? Buddham Sharanam Gachami, I go to Buddha for refuge. That is correct. It is the same word. Gachami, I go. So I go to Buddha. Buddham Sharanam Gachami. Vedic versus classical Sanskrit. Will we be going into the key differences between these two? If I want to understand some of the meanings of Vedic chants, will classic Sanskrit will be helpful? Yes, it would definitely be helpful. Vedic Sanskrit just has a little bit more depth, or you can say variety, in addition to classical Sanskrit. But most whatever you learn in classical Sanskrit would be useful in learning the Vedic mantras of meanings of Vedic chants also. May I kindly request that next time we chant the mantra, you please break it down phonetically so that we may learn how to pronounce correctly and dissect the word joining. I hope that chanting we are doing every morning, every time in the starting of the class, that should help. Vocative case is not considered a separate case, eighth case. Why? It is just a particular rule. Panini said that it's a variation of the first case. That's why we do not say it as a separate eighth case. But for your understanding, if you want to understand as eighth case, that's fine. In the teacher-student mantra, both the first and second lines end with the same fragment Vahai. However, why does the pronunciation sound different? The second verse ends with a bit of prolonged E sound at the end. So I'll just take you to this link here. And this is the mantra we are talking about actually here. This is in Devanagari because I can show you the accents. So in Vedic chant, there are accents. And you see there is a certain accent here with Vishavahai, these two vertical lines. And because of that, there is a little bit difference in the sound. It elongates here. In Karva Vahai, there is no such accent. That's why. So in Vedic chants, there are accents, but not in classical Sanskrit, but we are studying. This question I have already answered. Observe our 3x3 table and notice all the 9 words start with Gacha and then endings differ. The endings are these. The question is, why does it not become a long Gacha, Anti, Gachanti? I have already explained. These are the certain rules which apply specifically to the verb table here. And because of that, Panini said that in this particular case, that other rule would be applied and it will not become Gachanti. It will remain Gachanti. Similarly, it becomes elongated here, Gachami, instead of Gachami. So this we have already talked about. I hope that part should have been okay. So with this, I would just see if there are any questions in the chat window. Okay, so just in case, we have already sent the links for repository, but it seems that there is a little bit of a question. I'll just show you everybody that so this is the link, and there are 4 folders, and you can refer to the class notes. If you truly go back in this weekend to all the class videos, notes which you may have missed, you will not find today's class actually hard. You will find it fairly okay. It is just that if you have not caught up, then yes, I can understand. For example, an alphabet, some questions are what is voiced consonant. We have already explained that. What is voiced consonant? What is unvoiced consonant? What is vowel? What is consonant? So what is sibilant? So all those questions, yes, they can become a little bit difficult, but otherwise it should not be really difficult. The rules are not so difficult actually. So I'll just put the repository just in case anybody who is not having direct link to the repository, even though it's there in the Kriya Yoga website, but I'll just put it here so that everybody can have it for this. This is link for repository. Okay. So with this, there is another comment here. Will there be a follow-up to this course more advanced? Maybe. We haven't planned anything yet. There is a comment here. I would like to speak in favor of homework again. If we didn't apply these rules to our homework, it would become difficult to keep up. Although it seems like a lot of homework, it really doesn't take too long to finish. It also is helping us seeing various ways to apply the rules. Thank you. I really like the way you are organized. Thank you so much. There is a suggestion from someone, maybe you can paint 3 or 4 Devanagari letters each class. This class is not about teaching Devanagari letters. So I have already posted the links. And as I said, Devanagari is not a mandatory requirement for this beginners class. I have already posted a link for those who want to learn Devanagari, including the pronunciation. So please follow those links and you would be able to practice your Devanagari skills. With this, we will close the class, and you please do the exercises, catch up with whatever you left out. Remember, this Sanskrit is a language. So any language, just like any language, if you do not keep up, the newer concepts will come and then you will feel sort of left out and you will feel overwhelmed. But if you are keeping it up, then what we are covering is quite important, no doubt, but it's certainly not, in my opinion, not overwhelming actually. And also I'm hoping that when I'm asking you to solve the exercises from EGINS, you are reading those chapters and solving those exercises. So please, please do that. Okay. So with this, we'll do the closing prayers all together. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayah, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhavet. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you. Thank you everyone.